man, how you doing, bro?
Doing decent. I mean, can't complain, really.
Yeah. What you been up to?
School and work and more school.
Yeah.
Seems like school takes up a lot of my time, unfortunately.
Yeah, it'll do that to you, man. Well, appreciate you taking the time to bring me into this recording room. First in-person Isaac Jarnagin podcast here in Iowa City, Iowa. How do you have access to this place, bro?
Yeah, so I work at the Bell and Blank Center, which is gifted education through the University of Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a photographer for them. And we gained access to this room. It was just a normal room. And I actually hung every single one of these sound panels. They're a foot by a foot.
Yeah.
And I did it twice.
Yeah. You've never set up a room like this before?
Nope.
Were you in charge of purchasing all this and everything?
I was not. They had a podcasting setup. Just the sound panels is all I really did. But yeah.
Right. So you guys got access to this room and you hung up all these things. You hung them up almost twice, right?
Yeah, because funny enough, hung them up with like off-brand 3M tape, right?
Yeah.
And I had to sit there and peel off every single one.
Yeah.
Well, I come out a week later and they all fell down, like every single one of them. And I had this entire wall, and half of this wall done.
Crazy. And you said, remind me what the Bell and Blank Center's for?
Yeah, so it's essentially it's a entity of the University of Iowa, and they work with students who are what they call twice exceptional, which means that they have some form of cognitive disability, like ADHD or autism, or something along the lines of that, and but that are also really smart. And so what the Bell and Blank Center does is they host classes and certain resources for these kids in order to get the access to education that they all want.
Mm-hmm. And what you're working towards has nothing to do with that at all. Why are you a part of the center?
Yeah, so I actually applied, and I had no idea what the center was. I've heard of it. I've heard of the Bell and Blank Center, but not really. I have no clue what the Bell and Blank Center was. And I went in for my interview, and the interview went really well, and then I just kind of started learning what the center was.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say I'm like I wasn't excited, but like I really do enjoy working in gifted education. I mean, all of the kids that I work with, so it's pre-kindergarten through high school, and the Bell and Blank Center kind of focuses on third grade to high school, and then they also have a college portion of that, students that go here, and I would say that I really like working with these kids because every single one of them is smarter than me, and it's really remarkable to be able to talk with somebody so young but so like intellectual, and it's a really cool experience.
Yeah, wait, you were working hands-on with them? I thought you were just kind of behind the scenes doing like the media stuff.
Yeah,
am I wrong?
I mean, you're not completely wrong. I would say that I interact with them.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily like they probably don't know me, but like, I'll go and like, for example, one class that I went to was a biology class, and they were dissecting like brain, like pig brain, and like all these different things, and these were middle schoolers at the time. So it's like it's pretty cool, and they were sitting there learning about the heart and all the different portions of the heart and stuff I don't remember from high school, and it's like it's really cool because I get to experience the class, but I also get to experience like people learning, and honestly every single one of these kids wants to be there. So it's not like you have somebody who doesn't want to be there, who doesn't do the work. Every single one of them is really engaged, really like what they're doing, and yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, having like a job and opportunity like this as a university is good because obviously I know you do well, but you're not pouring in money to the point where you don't have to work while you're in college, So, and there's either one or two options. You're just going to get a job, like some food job, and get money, or you can kind of get one of these cooler university jobs where a little more resources behind it and a little more in your opportunity range. So it's good to get opportunities like this, man. I'm glad you found it. You've been way more proactive about the resources you get out of university than I did at my time at Iowa State, but it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, Actually, my backup plan, if I didn't get the job at the Bell and Blank Center, was actually driving for CAMBUS, because what had happened is I had signed up for an entrepreneurship program, and I was going to get a stipend to live throughout the summer, and I had sublet an apartment throughout the summer and everything. Well, when it all came down to it, I had applied for the Bell and Blank Center. Well, me and my dad had a conversation, and I basically had some commitments that I had to uphold, and the Bell and Blank Center wasn't going to bring in that much money so that I could uphold those commitments. And so what had happened is I had the interview set up, and I had it all worked out, and then I basically had to cancel the interview. Well, then about a week until the semester ended, I called the entrepreneurship office, and I was like, hey, just making sure you got my application. Well, turns out they didn't get it. And so I had to scramble to basically figure out how I was going to make money over the summer, which was not fun. You know, it was not a good, poor lack of planning on my part. But what happened is I then emailed my now boss, and I asked him if the interview was still on the table, and he said for sure. And I came down, and interview went well, and they hired me.
Yeah, and obviously we're talking a lot about this because this is what you're up to right now, and I want to get into you've had some cool opportunities. One of them being, you've talked a lot about the Hulu commercial for Bell and Blank Center specifically. Can you talk more about that? Because I've heard about it personally, but I haven't really heard the deep depths of it, what it's for and why and how you got the role.
Yeah, so the Hulu commercial kind of came about. So I'm primarily a photographer for the Bell and Blank Center, and so what happened is I worked the first summer. I'm actually coming up on my 1-year anniversary, but I worked the first summer primarily doing photos, and then they extended my contract beyond to the school year, and now they had brought up that they were thinking about producing a commercial, and I'm like, okay, I've never done a commercial before, but and you know me, I don't really do video, that's not my primary thing, and so I was like, you know what, let's give it a shot, and I worked on getting B-roll at certain classes, and worked at interacting with people and getting the B-roll that's going to look the best for a Hulu commercial. And we were first they wanted to do like a dialogue type thing where somebody would voice over it and everything, which it actually ends up looking like we are going to have to do that because of Hulu's guidelines. But we brainstormed, and I have weekly meetings with my bosses, and we just talk through the commercial, and we bounce ideas off of each other. And essentially what this first commercial is brand awareness. We just want people, there's a lot of people that don't know what the center is, but we just want people to know that it exists, and that if they want to learn more about it.
Uh-oh.
Hold on. That's unfortunate.
I wonder how many times that's happened.
Well, how do we prevent it from happening again?
I think it's kind of funny. I'm leaving that in.
Anyway, where was I?
Brand awareness.
Yeah, brand awareness. So we just want people to know that the center exists, and if they would like to learn more information, then they're welcome to visit our website. And yeah.
Right. And there's definitely a look that I watch every commercial on TV, and I'm just like, yeah, I can achieve that, but there's just some sort of look that commercials achieve that I have a hard time achieving. It's like that you can get it 90% of the way there, but it's how you get it to 10% of the way there. And you nailed that look. And for not doing video ever, what did you have to overcome to kind of look at that look? Did you watch a lot of other commercials, or how did that work?
For one, I appreciate that, because that means I did my job right.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. There was just something, there is that look about commercials, and so you can kind of visualize it. And so what I did was, I really I took what everything my bosses were saying, and I took that and I built upon it, and I really just went to town. I didn't really consume many other commercials. I figured, I'm going to produce something that I like, and we can talk about it. And if they necessarily don't like it, then we can revise it or come up with a new idea. But no, it was really an experience where I kind of just winged it, and I somehow ended up nailing it, which,
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
pretty cool experience though.
Yeah, it looks good, and obviously the guidelines are kind of annoying, but which I wouldn't have experience with. But it looks like you're a few points away from getting that thing live and going, because obviously they can't let everything that they have submitted to them online
Right.
for their own reasons. But commercial for Hulu, I worked on it. I did. I fixed it. Just
He
kidding.
did.
Kinda.
He cut out the black frame.
Yeah. So I've worked on a Hulu commercial too. I'm gonna put that on my client list. Just kidding. Dude, you talk a lot about photography. Obviously I've grown up alongside you and have seen you pursue all bunch of random crap, just like I did.
Well,
and
you were a huge inspiration in that. I don't know if you ever knew that, but you're
yeah,
like, I credit you, like you buying your first camera.
yeah,
It took a spark in me, and it really,
yeah,
I remember when we were getting the same thing to drink at the breakfast table and stuff, and I just
Yeah.
copy you 100%.
No, my biggest memory with you is we were having pancakes or whatever, and I wanted a plain pancake, and then you want a plain pancake, and I'm like, wait, I want to add blueberries, and you're like, oh, I want to add blueberries, something like that, and then I wanted plain because I didn't want to have the same thing you had, and then you switched it back to plain. So I caught on that a little bit, but definitely you've seen what I did, but you obviously you do it your own way, and so when I first got a camera, obviously you did, but that's really been the thing you've ran with. I've almost veered away from photography, and you've stayed on that path. As a whole, what has photography meant for you, and how has it paved the way to where you're at now?
Oh boy, that's a big question there.
Yeah, my bad.
Well, I had told somebody, because somebody had told me that photography is a business, and while that's true, 100%, to me it's not just a business. Like, it's really the only thing that I've wanted to do for a really long time, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I've been doing it now for 6 years, and I still want to continue to do it. I mean, I came to college for journalism to be a photojournalist. Like, that was the goal, and I don't know if that's the goal anymore because of other opportunities, but I think that, it's really the one thing that has allowed me to express, not necessarily how I feel, because I don't want to sound cliche here, but it's helped me express how I want to conduct myself. Like, when I talk to clients, I'm much more of like a professionalist. I'm much so like the professional, like, back and forth that you have with clients. Like going to meetings. And I think that for me, it allows me to conduct myself in a professional manner, and so it gives me an excuse to do that. That's probably not a common way to look at it, but I think that, like, one big worry for me, and the Bell and Blank Center has also helped with this, me working here, but one big worry for me was the transition from, like, school to the professional world, or like the professional corporate world. Like, how do you do that transition? There's like a bunch of etiquette that you have to learn. There's there's a ton to it, and where somebody might not think there is, and there's a lot that goes into being professional. And so I think for me, it's just an excuse to learn more things. And
Yeah, I mean, one way you can learn is time. You just go into the world and you kind of tread water for a bit, or try to tread water, and then over time you do it. But if you're an overachiever, which I feel like you are a little bit, and you like to be ahead of the game, it's a role like this is a good way to learn it. And you're right. Photography is a high value skill. It is. Not everyone knows it. Not everyone knows how to do it well. And when you have that, you get opportunities, and you have to accept some of those opportunities, and you have to deny some of those opportunities. And each time you get an opportunity, you have to learn how to explain yourself. And me and you are both young and still have no idea what we're doing fully, and I know I can confidently say that. So you learn to do that over time. So, like, actually, during this podcast, I'm on episode like 30 now or whatever. One of my first 5 people I interviewed, Che, he's like, send me a calendar invite. I'm like, I've never done that before. Like,
I can't use Google Calendar.
why not?
I don't know, something about virtual calendars. I have a Notion calendar set up.
Huh.
I have a Google Calendar set up. I have an Apple Calendar set up. But guess what? I don't use them.
Huh.
I will use specific ones that are easiest to access at the time.
Yeah.
which isn't good because then I have a bunch of different events on a bunch of different calendars.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't use a virtual calendar. I actually just asked work to pick up a big desk calendar, big desk paper calendar.
Yeah.
So
So you're like my dad and a weirdo, but every other person on this world uses, online calendars, and when they have like those online meetings, you get sent invites. And I literally just learned that within these first 30 episodes. So it's just like over time, when you communicate people, you're gonna notice what works, what doesn't, and it just works. And I got that pretty well done with like basic things, like basic photo projects whenever I can get done pretty chill. But now that I've been kind of developing my business, I'm talking to bigger opportunities that take longer processes, and I've just been treading water because I don't know how it all works. But I just kind of, at the end of the day, I just want to do my best for the person coming up to me and vice versa if it's worth it for both of us. And so if you both have that in mind, you're eventually going to get there. But photography is a high value skill, and you're going to have to decide what you want to do, what you don't want to do. So I kind of agree with what you say that. And if I could choose with my friends, I would communicate even like personal stuff very corporately, like, oh, you want to go out tonight? Let's schedule it, so I don't have to think. The less I have to think, the better, man. But what other? I mean, yeah, I've been staying with you for these last few days. You've been setting up your business entity. You want to talk about that at all? How's that been?
Yeah, really new thing. In fact, it's not even approved yet. But, everything's in the works, and I decided. I mean, this year I'm gonna break the threshold for reporting taxes. So I figured, why not? Why not do it? I could have done it by a Schedule C and just report it as extra income. But the whole deal was I think I was looking for an excuse to kind of do it, to set up my LLC and everything. And so honestly, the process wasn't that hard. It's just a matter of the certain forms you have to fill out and making sure that you have all of them filled out.
Yeah. The legal stuff, whether it's an easy process or not, it feels hard no matter what, especially overthinking it. I just as an example for this time, I mean, it took me forever to do my own. I did it really young, but I still could have done it earlier or whatever. But yours, I was telling you, man, if photography is gonna be a part of your life and you're accepting jobs on the side, like, you should do it. And you're like, no, not quite there, not quite there, not quite there. Probably a year and a half, 2 years later, now you're like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So like, I know that 2 year period, you're probably thinking in your head, that's really hard. Same with me. I'm just speaking because it's just like, it feels hard in your brain before you do it. It always does. So, but you said it was pretty easy.
I also think that people kind of talk about it in terms that make it a lot more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
And I've noticed like a lot of academics use it.
Yeah.
And are kind of dance around a point,
Yeah.
And the whole deal is that it wasn't really that hard. I mean, just look up a couple of videos on YouTube. In fact, I had registered my LLC and then got filled out the sales tax permit and everything like that. And an ad popped up on my YouTube, and it was some dude, I don't know his name, but it was some guy talking about how, if you're wanting to be an entrepreneur and you're wanting to be a CEO, and the first step to that is registering an LLC, the biggest jump is just doing it. Like, that's the hardest part of it, is just doing it. And everything else is just going to come, on its own. It's just, it's going to figure itself out. I mean,
Yeah. Dude, even if you make $0, even if I made $0, you still learn the process. You just do. I mean, you're going to have your personal accounts. You're going to make a business account, and you're going to see that business on the side and how it's going up or how it's going down, and just learning bookkeeping and whatever and all that, and getting connections with a lawyer and getting connections with a CPA. If you want to do anything on your own, which I know a lot of people out there do, that's the first step. And if, like, you're right, if you're going to keep dancing around it, you're not going to grow. So I just encourage, if it's going to be more than just a thing that lasts more than a few years in your life, and you're always going to have this on the side, which you definitely will be, get that thing set up, man. Get it set up. But bro. But next step is just you're waiting on your forms to come back.
Yep. All I'm waiting on now is for the Secretary of State to approve the LLC, and then I'm waiting for my sales tax permit that's coming in the mail.
Mm-hmm. And what's your kind of business plan, business idea? You're just providing photo work, right?
Yeah. So kind of the description I put under all these forms was photo and video. Just because, I mean, I do a lot, like a decent amount of video for only being a photographer, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a couple of projects that I've worked on, but yeah, mainly photo. I have some weddings coming up, and I'm helping out another guy, Dylan, who does weddings, and I'm helping him with video, and so kind of just looking to do it all by the book. There's also something like, you know, there's something to be said. I don't know if you feel this way, but like when you can call yourself a business owner and have that be true in the eyes of the law, like that feeling, like, I don't know, that's a feeling I've never felt before, and it's just like a very good satisfactory feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's rewarding, and just knowing that you can do what you need to do and not have to worry about all the legal implications outside of it, like you're gonna get in trouble or something, which if you're dancing around using Venmo to get shoots and get in your personal account, and I mean, it shows on records, I mean, eventually if you dig into yourself. So just like avoiding all that crap and just having it be official is a breath of fresh air. And a lot of these people that don't form something, they just want to avoid it because they just want to create. They don't want to worry about all the back end stuff. But really, the only reason not to worry about the back end stuff is to do it and get it done. So it's just kind of funny how that goes.
See, the IRS, they passed a law too. So like now, they're phasing it in. So this year the threshold is 5,000. But next year, so next tax season of 25. It's going to be 600, I want to say. So if you make over $600 in like documentable pay, then you're by law required to report that on your taxes.
Yeah, I have no idea about any of that stuff. I can't even act like I have a heck of an idea. I thought it was always 600. I didn't know that was coming into
So
place.
here's the thing. They had passed the law, then COVID hit, and so they refrained from doing it. So the threshold then was 20,000. And so then what had happened is COVID kept on its thing. And so they pushed it back. Well, now this year is the first year that they're phasing it in. And that's why this year is 5,000. Next year is 600. Okay. And then it'll stay 600.
Yeah. So it's coming, bro.
Which for photo and video work is not like, you know, you do one job and you have the potential to break through that threshold. So
yeah. I mean, you're going to start with free work, and then you're going to work your way up, maybe charge $50 or $100 when you kind of suck, but, you know, you think you should get paid some. But over now, I charge a couple $100 every time I go out to shoot now. So it's only two or three of those shoots, and you're ready to go. So for sure. But you aren't diving in and doing this full time, which is different from me.
Yeah, there's quite a big difference between what you're doing and what I'm doing.
Yeah.
What you're doing is probably a lot more stable in the sense that you have reoccurring clients.
Yeah.
For me, I really don't. I don't have any reoccurring clients that are a stable income. So that way, like, you know, I can plan for it. I'm very much doing it as a side hustle, and you know, if it doesn't work out, I mean, what's the worst that can happen? I'll have to deregister the LLC or whatever, you know, and to be honest, it's not even that big of a deal. Like, I'm not too worried about it. The only thing I'm kind of worried about is that, like, getting that work. But you know, I mean, I've somehow have gotten the work for the past 6 years now, so I don't see a point in.
Yeah. Why would you ever want to deregister it, even if you had zero work? You know.
Well, here's why. So, my kind of thought process behind all of this is, if I've been doing a lot of sports photography, and I actually have an opportunity that is potential with the Iowa Heartlanders hockey team. But if I am employed after college by like something that's going to take up a lot of my time, like a sports team or something along those lines, I don't know that I'm going to have time for it. And along with that, you have to file sales tax quarterly. Well, the thing they don't necessarily tell you is, even if you don't make any money, you still have to file sales tax. You just have to put 0. And so even if you don't do any jobs for, you know, a quarter, and your sales tax is 0, you still have to report that.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it's just cool that you went in and did the systems, and you're planning on working full time, and then you're just taking time aside from that and doing what you do. I mean, you're putting in the, a little bit of hustle there. So I think that's kind of cool.
I'm really trying.
Yeah. But what do you got coming up? You got school finishing up soon. Then what are you gonna do this summer?
Yep. So school, last week is school. Next week is finals week. Thankfully, I don't have too stressful of a finals week. I actually have no in-person finals. But this summer, I'm working with the Bell and Blank Center and focusing on photo and video. I think we're going to do more of a combination. There's a few items that I have to check off and covering summer programming here. And that's kind of what I do in the summers. So,
what's been the hardest part of like creating and doing something like that where you don't get a lot of extra support? You only have a few people that do what you do. How does that feel?
Yeah. To be honest, it's quite difficult. I have a couple of friends that have around the same amount of experience as me, and some that have quite a bit more. But I would say having people that, share the love and also kind of like have the same experience level, you just kind of connect. That's why like Dylan and I love working with each other, because we kind of know how each other work, and it's just like really good synergy. And so it's like, you know how they work, what to expect. You can tell them to move out of the way, and there's no hard feelings. But here in Iowa City, to be honest, there's not too many friends that I have that, that aren't either like just starting out or within their first year, which is not a bad thing. I mean, I think that if anybody wants to try and get into it, definitely should try. It's just on a relatable level, I would say that I don't have many friends that really like necessarily understand client work or understand, certain things like that, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not trashing on anybody, but
what makes you keep pushing through? And answer that one. So I'm just gonna make sure that this one's going.
Yeah. So one thing that really keeps me pushing through, honestly, it's the fact that like I just love it. I love what I do. I straight up I mean quite literally the only thing I spend my money on, Isaac, is camera gear. Like, I kid you not.
Too much.
Yeah, way
too
much. But it's I just love it.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can't it,
Yeah.
It's like I can't not come back to it.
Yeah.
It's like
compare, I don't know, you put the work in at like scooters and jobs like that. Compare just like making money in a very generic way versus
I'm gonna list the jobs that I've had.
Yeah, do it. I know, you've had more than one. I just remember scooters.
I've had
for some
a lot
reason.
more than one.
Yeah.
Started out working at a local grocery store where I grew up.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah.
And then I left that and I went to work at Smoky Row as a barista.
Yeah.
Which is probably something a lot of people wouldn't guess about me. I actually really love making coffee. And then then COVID hit and I didn't work. And so then after COVID, I went and got a job at Goodwill. And what had happened is I left Goodwill to work at McDonald's in Ankeny because they were paying like $5 more an hour. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to eat the cost in gas to drive to Ankeny and work there. And so I did that. And then I decided that was a little bit too much money in gas. So I left McDonald's and I went to work at Taco John's. And I decently like Taco John's, but a little bit of a toxic environment. But and then I left Taco John's to work at Scooters, and Scooters was the job that I had up until I graduated from high school. And then I came to the university, and I worked in the dining hall for a little bit, which wasn't fun. And then I worked a few different stations there, and then now I have the job at the Bell and Blank Center.
Yeah. Why take the time to do something that you enjoy for work? I mean, just like a lot of people don't. And
because my whole philosophy and why I've had so many jobs is if you don't like what you do, leave. Like,
Yeah.
what is keeping you there? You can find another job somewhere else that would be a little bit more bearable, you know? It's like, take the risk, especially if you're in high school. If you're in high school and you have a ton of sports going on, or like you're really busy and like you want your weekends, go to somewhere where they don't like force you to work weekends, you know? Go somewhere where they're really flexible with your schedule. Go somewhere where they treat you right. I don't see a sense in working a job you hate. I really don't, because it brings the morale down. It's hard. You dread going to work every day. I hated that. I hated that feeling.
Yeah. And you're putting in just the amount of same hours that you did there, like as work, but you enjoy it now, right?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. So during the school year, yeah, I'm putting in about the same amount of hours, but the Bell and Blank Center is the first job that I ever worked a 40-hour week at. And in the summers, I work 40-hour weeks, which I couldn't imagine doing like 40 hours at like Taco John's, or like it, you know, just very monotonous and very not fun. And so it's like, I don't know, it's just opened my eyes. I've also been a guy that, like, if I do something, I do it right. And I don't complain. And so I've always done my job. Doesn't mean I like doing it, though. You know, I didn't enjoy a lot of the jobs that I've had, and that's why I had so many. But
yeah, where's your attention to detail come from? Why do you care?
Oh,
You might not know.
I don't know. I really think I care because my lifestyle has always been trying to build something bigger. And so I think I care so much because I'm longing for the opportunity to have something I enjoy. And I've always, like, I've never wanted to work a job that I've hated. Like, that was never the plan. Never. I always wanted to go to college and do something I love doing. And that's why I think I love photography so much, and why I'm so pursuant of it, is because it's something I love, and I know that it's something I love, and so I'm not willing just to let it go, you know? So I think maybe the attention to detail really comes from just how I grew up, and I wouldn't necessarily say meticulous nature, but I would say that, like, just wanting to get things done right. And it's just like, because if you're not going to do it right, don't do it at all. You know, it's like, it's one of them things. So
yeah. What are some things you've tried that you've failed, that you just sucked at?
Oh boy. There's been a lot of them. I'm into cars, as you know, and I knew nothing about cars, and I had to learn that. And so, like, for the longest time, I had no idea what I was talking about. A lot of the first few shoots that I went on, I don't feel like I did my best work, just because I lacked knowledge.
Yeah, like photo shoots.
Yeah. Yep. And what is something else I failed at? I made a t-shirt brand, just like you did.
Yeah.
Failed at that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really keep tabs on the failures, because to me, nothing's a failure. If you learn something, or you learn a process, or you gain knowledge even in the slightest bit, you know, then it's not a failure. To me, it's not.
Yeah,
So.
and I agree. I've tried so many freaking different things, and it feels like failure when you're in like a close, you know, small town system, because everyone sees and talks about it, or whatever. Now I've just spent so much time just with myself and with people that are pushing toward me, that I can start things and do things and stop doing them, and it feels like nothing. It just feels like, oh, frick. I mean, you got something out of it, you know. The numbers I get on these pods, it could almost be considered failure numbers, but I legit just look at things on the worst case, and don't care about that. I just, like, you just try stuff, and stuff sticks and stuff doesn't stick. It's just funny how failure works, because it's really not a thing. It's
right.
just not.
And the other thing is, there's two kinds of people out there. There's the people that would be like, I'm going to make this pod and it's not going to do well, so I'm not even going to attempt.
Yeah.
And, like, here's the other thing. I learned this in my entrepreneurship classes that I'm taking, is that like 98% of people lack execution.
Yeah.
Like, that's the number one place where people lack the skills to actually, not skills, but to actually follow through and execute something. Like that's the number one reason. And it's like, think of, like, there's probably so many people in this world that if they just tried it, would have blown up. It would have done numbers. It would have made them millions.
Yeah.
But it's like that mindset of, oh, it's not going to do well, so I'm not even going to try.
Yeah.
That's not a good mindset to have.
Yeah, man. I don't got much to say there, but
the other thing is we're both from small towns, so I know you know what the small town mentality is.
Yeah.
The fact of you'll never leave the small town.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to work the rest of your life, some labor job. You know, I'm not sure how it was where you grew up, but that was how it was, you know, for me. And, you know, if I have nothing against those people, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what they want to do, by all means, I definitely think they should do it.
Yeah.
It's just for me personally, that's not how I would want to do things. And so I remember like a lot of people were trashing on me wanting to do better things. And it really was that small town mentality that was bringing me down. And I think, but it's also what propelled me forward, because it's like, that's a pretty shitty way to think, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you can't have that mindset and expect to be successful in the eyes of, you know,
Yeah. No,
the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, you gotta take all that with a grain of salt for sure. The hard thing with that is you feel pretty comfortable in a small town-ish a little bit. You know, you have people around, you do your certain thing, you go home and you make it well. And where you really start kind of learning more about yourself is when you kind of get uncomfortable. And mine was really not that I distanced myself away from people on purpose because I didn't like them, but it just kind of naturally happened as I had different interests and was kind of in my lonesome more, and I was able to think about who I am and what I want to do, and I was able to try those new things. And when you're with yourself alone in front of your skills that you want to learn, you eventually just learn them over time, and it comes to a point where it works out. I don't know.
And the other thing is, like, there's been, I can say this for both me and you, there's been a lot of nights alone working, just like editing, just grinding through stuff, and it's like, it's taken some perseverance. Like, it's not always easy. There's been times where I've edited where it's the last thing that I wanted to do.
Yeah. It truly does take a lot of time, man. Right now I'm in a heavy content workflow right now, just because I want to grow really bad. And it took me years. I'd say maybe when I was 16, I saw everyone saw Gary Vee when they were 16, but he said you should be posting multiple times a day. I was never able to do that. Maybe I post a few times a week, but now I'm finally at the point where I'm posting multiple times a day. And the sacrifice for that is that I literally, if I want to get my workflow done, I don't have time to do anything else. And I'm okay with that because I want it really bad. But I think people say, like, how do you do all this? How do you learn all this? First of all, I have no idea. Second of all, I don't have any idea, but I know I spent all my time doing it. And if you spend all your time doing it, you're going to learn so many things over time. You're not even going to know how to explain to someone how you do it, because it's just like, just sit in a room in front of your computer if your skills align with that, which all of mine do, editing, photo, video, or whatever, and you just sit there and you just learn. And I don't know, you just do it, you put time into it, and it just works. I don't know how to explain it.
It's kind of like a thing of, like, you don't know how it's going to work, but you're going to make it work. Like, it's either you make it work or you stop pursuing it. And that's obviously not an option.
I can't speak for people older than me, but I always get told I have a lot of life to live. But when you're 20 years old, you already feel pretty old, like you don't have time anymore or whatever. So I feel that way. But one thing that I do know is that life is only going to get more busier from here on out. And so if I'm able to put this amount of work in right now, I'm going to continue doing it. So I kind of mentally re-signed my same lease and aims, just because I'm like, all right, this last year was hard, but whatever I did something good. So it's not sustainable, I know that, but I think I could do it for another year, so I'm going to go try it. And
step in the right direction.
Yeah, you just got to freaking want it really bad. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how I do it, but I'm tapping myself on the back right now. Just kind of good, but...
Yeah, I mean, you deserve it. I don't know how you do it, man.
Yeah.
Like, here's the other thing is, like, I'm not a big social media person. So, like, I post to Instagram and, stuff like that, photo-wise, but it's like... I feel like I could never do what you do. Like
Yeah.
you take so much time,
Yeah.
especially something as small as a reel.
Yeah.
I had left for class or something. You stayed home in my apartment all day and edited a reel. And I was like, how long did that take you to edit? And you're like,
Yeah.
what I've been doing today.
Yeah. Some of that's worth it. Some of it's not. I know I don't spend the most time compared to other people, but it's just important to spend time on all that stuff. And really, I don't know if it's going to pay off. I really don't know. I have a deep belief that it's working and paying off, but a lot of sacrifices are being made to put that in. But at the end of the day, when I spend a whole day like working on those stuff, like I feel like I'm fulfilling something. And so like, you know, everyone says like, go get a breath of fresh air, go talk to people or whatever, and which I do. But like, if I'm getting my purpose out, I mean, I just that's what I want to do. I don't know.
Right. And if you enjoy doing it, I mean,
Yeah.
There's that too.
Yeah. For a season. I could do it for a little bit, so we'll see. Another year goes, but yeah, man.
What else have you been up to? What's going on with you?
Yeah, I've been gone. This is my 10th day away from Ames. I went to Chicago for a little bit. Ever since I went to California, which was a few months ago, I've just been living in my basement working. Not like actually, I keep saying that, but it's like a mental thing.
Yeah.
Like when I'm in the basement, that sounds terrible.
It's a mind thing. You're in like the
but
grind mode.
My basement is where all of my stuff is, where all my gear is, where all my computers are and all that, and that's where I get my work done. You know, I don't have my own office space or whatever. So when I say I'm kind of living in my basement, I mean I am working on stuff and creating. I wouldn't say I am grinding a little bit, but I like to kind of say I'm creating. Like it's a good thing. And so.
Which, hey, grinding can be a good thing too.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I feel like I've definitely am on the grind currently. I've been so busy with school, man.
Yeah.
Like, and the other thing is that, so I'm in a multimedia storytelling class right now, and so it's like, it's eaten up a lot of time. Like I've now spent more time with a camera than I normally would because not only was I doing stuff like on the side, stuff that I wanted to do, but I also had to do it for class. And see, another thing with me is I have never wanted to like associate photography and stuff with school just because I didn't want to have to feel obligated like I have to do it. And I think that that's something. Also, another thing is like doing something for a grade.
Yeah.
Doing something for a grade you're a lot less passionate about than doing something for like real world, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that it's been a challenge, but I think it's been a good challenge.
What's next, man?
Yeah. I'm not really too sure. I have 3 semesters left of college after this current one that I'm in. And I think that as far as I know, I'm going to keep working at the Bell and Blank Center, continue with them probably throughout college, and then potentially work in a temp position until I can figure out what I want to do after college. Other than that, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, like, just keep on keeping on, you know?
Yeah. Keeping your options open. You think it's going to be a job? You think you're going to be freelance? Or do you think you are open for both? Or
Yeah, probably open for both. Not really too sure what a job after college looks like just because not really sure the kind of job I want. I don't really want to be a photojournalist anymore. I don't know, something about the journalism field, I'm just not really feeling it. And I don't know, my whole thing that I'm studying is journalism and mass communications with a certificate in entrepreneurial management. So it's like, you know, I can take that entrepreneurial management certificate and do a lot of things with it. And also I can get like some PR job, or like I could be a photojournalist. Or I also think that my experience as a photographer and stuff has also gotten me a lot of opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten. And so I think that experience plays a big part in what job I could get as well. So like really when I graduate, my thing is going to span like a lot of different industries, which is interesting to think about because I didn't really exactly plan for it to be like that. Like that wasn't necessarily the plan.
Yep. High value skill, man. High value skill, something people need. And yeah, you can do whatever the heck you want with it. You do weddings and sports stuff, and you make social media stuff with that. You can freaking do like more music type stuff. I mean, you can do anything with specifically photography, which I talk a lot about because I've dived into that quite a bit, and so have you. So, yeah, I think it's good to keep your options open, man. It's been freaking dope. Yeah, bro.
It's going. Life is life.
Yeah. Dang, bro. It's kind of weird to go back and talk. I mean, this pod we've had cut out 3 times. We've had the lights go out. We've had
It's
our
been an
angles cut
interesting
out.
experience.
We had it cut off at 43 minutes. So, takes a lot to do even the little stuff like recording a podcast, man.
But hey, spirits are high.
Spirits are freaking high. But, dude, how you just signed for a wedding, man. Have you?
Yeah, I just got that contract signed actually.
Yeah.
And deposit within 14 days.
Yep.
So that's planned. That's in October.
Mm-hmm.
I have a second shooter locked down, so that's good.
Mm-hmm. How was that whole process? You've never done something official like that for a wedding before, have you?
So
this is the first one.
Yep. So first wedding that I'm doing, like as the main photographer. I've done a lot of like second shooting for a lot of weddings with Dylan and other people, but everyone says it's really stressful. But to me, like I think it's where my journalistic side kind of takes over and like covers the events as I see them, and being a visual storyteller, which I don't necessarily like that term just because I think it's kind of cheesy, but it is what it is. It's being a visual storyteller, and I think that's just where all my experience and knowledge from like journalism practices come in. And I do have real world experience as a photojournalist, and so it's like I've covered political figures, I've covered sports, I've covered things like that. And so I think that's also what helps me ease the wedding stress of multimedia creation of a wedding.
Yeah, you got the skills down for sure. How was the communicating and you could quote unquote business side of it, just figuring all that out?
Yeah, so I'd say communicating was fine. The person who's getting married, the couple, they're really responsive. They really nice people. And I would say the thing that I struggled with the most was like actually writing up the contract. Yeah. But you had brought up a good point about using ChatGPT and then kind of editing it to essentially say what I want it to say.
Yeah.
And I mean, contract not only protects me, but it also protects them. I mean, like I have a service to provide and images to provide by a certain date. And
yeah.
So it's like I think I much prefer contract work. And I say contract work, I just mean work that requires like that involves a contract, just because there's an obligation then, and it's not just like a handshake deal,
Mm-hmm.
You can actually rely on what you're getting. And so that's one thing that's big on me, is that I want them to get what they want, and I want to cover their special day.
Yeah.
It's all about them. And so
yeah, I'm not gonna be the guy to do projects. To do contracts for really small jobs. But once you reach a certain threshold, you definitely, just for both people. I mean, I think it's more of a communication thing. It's like, if you do this right, I do this right, we'll have a good time.
Yeah.
But I've always not wanted to be involved with them. But now that I've kind of reached a certain threshold, I'm like, I probably should learn these. But contracts are dope. I mean, obviously, you said use AI to help think of it, and that doesn't mean use it and send it to them like that, but you use it as a guide. It'll show you what clauses are kind of in a general one, and then ideally, if you have questions about it, you go to a lawyer and review it, and it's a good way to go. But this is my first year really doing more contract stuff, and it's just something like you'll see what forms a contract, and you'll kind of understand what's involved in one after a few attempts. But it's definitely one of those hard things to jump into, just like setting up your entity is. It's just one of those things. All the legal stuff is hard to see the vision at the beginning, but then once you get the gist, it's just its own little language.
Yeah, and it's also like contracts to me, I think, are just a logistical issue a little bit. Like it's much more of a behind the scenes thing. Like just kind of got to sign it, get it out of the way, and but it is protection. It is. It's protects both parties, and I think it's a very important part. But like I said, logistical issue, and you know, much more behind the scenes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's good stuff, and now you know for next time. I mean, it's just a lot of these things are just like you do it once, and
Right.
it just gets.
And I want to address the
transferred.
audience here real quick and say this is that this wedding contract that I entered in is under my name, which is not good. Don't do that. If you have an LLC, put the LLC's name and enter the contract under the LLC. That's one thing that I wish I could have changed, but it didn't really work out like that, which is fine. You know, I'm not worried about it, but that's one of the number one mistakes that I've seen online that people make.
Yeah, it's all. No one knows what they're doing until they figure it out. So if you just know that, it makes life a little more easier and fun. So
yeah.
But dude, appreciate you for letting me come in here and take the time and record this thing. And it's good to get the old Cuzzo on finally.
Yeah, of course. It was good seeing you and hanging out with you, and good talking with you.
Yeah, appreciate it, bro. Keep up the good stuff. I'll literally talk to you after this.
Yes, sir.
Got done recording, but it feels like when I take these headphones off, we leave each other because usually I'm on a call. But that's not the case. You're right here. But
Yeah.
appreciate you, bro.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Isaac.
Yeah, we'll see you.
See ya.
We're still here, but whatever.